Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of destruction. In this week's gaming news, Heroes of the Storm Rexxar hits tomorrow with a brand new map, but the not so heavily covered is the new report system, which we're going to be going into a little bit more depth. A Diablo 3 Q&A that came up. It's kind of oldish news, but there's some pretty interesting points that I wanted to touch on with the topic. Oh yeah, touch on it. Reign of Kings gets a complete server wipe, but also gets followed up with a massive patch for the alpha. And lastly, the Mad Max vs Metal Gear Solid 5 story continues to unfold with some pretty interesting things that I want to share with you guys too. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Okay, so Rexxar hits tomorrow, probably around about the same time this video goes up. Looks very cool. I don't want to talk about it too much because all the info is there. If you're into Heroes of the Storm, you know a lot about it. I'm going to leave the rest of YouTube to spoil the fun for you guys without even actually playing it. All I can say is that it kind of feels like the Lost Vikings, just on a combat level. Pretty sure you can't split push or anything like that, but it is kind of like that step down from the Vikings of micromanaging two characters at the same time. I think I'm going to connect with this character quite a lot, just depending on how the skills actually play out and how it feels as well. But I'm very comfortable with having two characters at the same time, and I hope you guys are too. It's going to be fun gameplay. Let's talk about the brand new reporting system though. So this will be coming in with the Rexxar patch. Let's go over some of the topics. So number one is abusive chat. Insults, cruelty, or ongoing harassment directed at one or more players, hate speech, and real-life threats. In my experience with the reporting system, it's kind of hard to follow up to know if a player got banned or not, but I've heard horrible things said directly on the lines of hate speech with the F-bomb, the N-bomb, everything you could possibly say to be homophobic or just, you know, just poor use of vocabulary. Even if the emotional weight isn't behind the actual text that you're using, it does have a lot of impact. Especially, this fucking 2015. Who's racist still? The next one is intentionally feeding. So players who intentionally and repeatedly get their heroes killed in order to anger allies or feed XP to the enemy team. Now, in my opinion, I don't think cheating is a massive issue. It's too hard to organize matchmaking and say put, you know, two players on an opponent's team to die all the time so you win. Too complex, especially just to win a game. But there is the other aspect of this, and that is players who are on the same team who dislike the team that they've got are giving up and basically just killing themselves to make the game lose quicker. This is not cool. It's very passive aggressive and just overshadows people not dealing with the actual problems in front of them, being that maybe they dislike the team or the way that they're playing, and unfortunately this is out of your control. It's a game. Have some fun, man. Now, I'm not going to go over all of them, but I will mention one more. I was already aware this is actually implemented already, but they've highlighted it once again, so let's go over it. AFK and non-participation. A player is idle or inactive for an extended period of time during a game. A player is present but has given up and refuses to take part in the game. This once refers back to the previous one of feeding. Now, it's totally fine to go AFK. You know, if there's something major going in on your head, whatever, go and, you know, go AFK for a second or so. But I think this really addresses the issues of players who are losing, say, and going AFK one every 3 games or something along those lines. Go and watch TV or something like that and come back. God, suck. This is really poor sportsmanship, and yeah, this actually has been enforced before. Players who are AFK, you can report them, and if they continue to do so, will get banned. Oh yeah, one more thing. Cheating, botting, and hacking. Suspicious behavior indicates the player may be using a third-party software. I think this is interesting because it acknowledges that botting and hacking is present inside of Heroes of the Storm, which I had no idea. I can assume that there are some kind of bots out there or whatever. Maybe this might be referring to exploits as well. Probably along those lines too, when it comes to, say, quote-unquote suspicious behavior. Anyway, enough about Heroes of the Storm. Okay, so kind of recent-ish, like 5 days ago recent-ish, a Reddit Q&A happened with the Blizzard developers and the community. Now, I'm not going to go, oh, I forgot to say what game it was. I'll awkwardly edit it in. Diablo. Now, there was 2 really interesting topics that came up that was, I thought, worth sharing. So someone commented in and said, you know, any plans for a gold sink? I'm 20 hours into my Season 4 character and I've got 600 million gold. This has been going on since the auction house shut down. Let's hear what they have to say. So yeah, we want gold to be a more valuable resource to players and have some designs in the works in our next patch. Now, I'm going to throw it out there and say I have full faith that they're going to pull this off because they've done it before. If you guys don't remember, very, very early on in Diablo 3 Vanilla, there was a point there when the average amount of gold that a player made was less than the repair costs of the items you used. So it literally meant if you used the same gear, if you didn't have other weapons to keep rotating, you would eventually run out of gold. Thank goodness they implemented a patch to fix this, But yeah, like, I mean, these guys got this locked down. For sure, I think we'll see that very soon. Next patch. That's how soon. Now, the last comment that I thought was really interesting was one that came up where someone said, you know, do you have any plans to fix the bounties that are broken? I know 10 off the top of my head. I believe they've been hotfixed yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. At least not turned off. The person goes on to ask and say, do you have any way of actually tracking this kind of stuff? Now, the blue poster goes on to quote, now I'm actually paraphrasing here. Yeah, we both have an internal system and we use the support forums and that kind of stuff. The reason why I brought this up is because I wanted to bring some light for you guys. Blizzard, especially Blizzard, you know, companies this big has statistics on everything internally built with everything that they use in the office. They have stats on every single little thing. It'd be naive to think that they don't. They are so aware of this kind of stuff. I think it really comes down to also priorities on what needs to be worked on at the same time, but never underestimate a company like Blizzard when it comes to data and gameplay performing in an outlier-ish kind of way. Okay, so we've had a complete server wipe on Reign of Kings, along with a brand new patch that's come through. This is one of the most extensive patches I've seen so far, just general improvements to quality, but also some actual visual stuff as well. You know, characters actually have bruise marks when they get hit. You know, there's footsteps in the sand, all this kind of little detail type of things. Game's still like a buggy, you know, horrible mess. And I mean that from like a really good place, if you know what I mean. Like, I love this game because of what it is. The physics are horrible. I like this game. I genuinely do. It has more value than so many other games out there. That's why I like it. So I don't think I'm taking a shot at Reign of Kings. Yeah, massive patch came through. This is a great time to pick up Reign of Kings again and start playing it. I definitely will be, as you guys have probably seen the recent video that came up about trapping players. Check it out if Reign of Kings is your type of thing. If not, get lost, mate. Okay, regarding Mad Max and Metal Gear Solid 5, an article recently popped up on Forbes talking about the topic. Let's get into this. Now, if you're curious about how both games are performing, let me break over some of the stats. Metal Gear Solid is close to 500,000 with 464,000 copies sold. Mad Max, on the other hand, is a little bit short of halfway of that, 214 copies sold. Oh, by the way, I'm talking about units of 1,000 here, 214,000 copies sold. And the same for Metal Gear Solid. Now, if you're looking for more context on what I'm actually talking about, just check out the Mad Max section from last week's episode. It'll make a lot more sense. But let's go over this Forbes article. So first of all, credit goes to where credit is due. The contributor is Paul Tassi. I like your name, Paul. It sounds fancy. And the headline reads, Mad Max and Gaming's 5 to 10 review score system. Now, what's really interesting about this article, by the way, I don't have any, you know, personal investment into Forbes magazine. I don't like any major news networks. Forbes, I guess, falls under that category too, but let's just talk about some of this stuff. It is actually very accurate. He basically talks about how he actually personally agrees with the reviewer from Polygon on the topics, but definitely not on the score given. Now, let me quote this line here. Without directly me saying this, let him say it for me. I was particularly taken back by the 5 out of 10 score from, you guessed it, Polygon. It's rare to see a score that low for anything outside of Steam greenlit garbage. Yet now that I've played the game, I agree with almost everything said in the review. I just don't agree with the number. Basically, he says, you know, Polygon and Collar have been inundated with commenters angrily questioning the 5 out of 10 review, and I'm one of those people. Penny Arcade, which is someone external from Polygon, recently authored a post, or apparently external from Polygon, recently authored a post that outright accuses the review score of not being correlated in any way with the product, and that it's being used merely as clickbait to incite rage and page views. There's a lot of depth to this, guys, that I will not get into. First, it's very, very complex. If you want to look further into this stuff, I recommend a book called Trust Me, I'm Lying. I distrust this whole thing. If you understand how media is very easily manipulated, without money, by the way, then you're going to start to see a very clear pattern going on right here. Feel free to look further if that's your thing, if you want to get into the nuts and bolts, but I'm clearly a supporter of the game. I like it. 5 out of 10. This game is beautiful. The mechanics are great. Customization is awesome. 5 out of 10. No way. Metal Gear Solid, as far as the game goes, probably is slightly better, but Mad Max is not a 5 out of 10 game. These guys are... Okay, so a question was asked in last week's episode that I thought I'd share with you guys. It's from Dario B. What kind of class would you like to see in Diablo 3? I would love to see the Amazon return, but it's so similar to the Demon Hunter when it comes to arrows, more along the lines of the Javazon. I'd like to see javelins and ranged weapons with a quantity. I think the coolest thing about this would be you found an ancient item of the best legendary in the game. You knew it only had 200 shots, so you had to kind of use it very wisely or find a shitload of them, stash them away. I really love that aspect of Diablo 2. Of course, I would love to see Diablo 3's twist on it though. Their flavor on it. I really like what they do with character design. It's amazing. My name is Elvis. This is Friend Air Machine. Thanks for joining me as always. We made it. Stay safe, guys, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!